This is Interview Connections TV, the show for podcasters and great guests. I'm Jessica Rhodes, your host, and I'm committed to helping you deliver valuable, actionable content, build your following, and grow your business. And I am here with James Malinchak, big money speaker and featured on ABC's hit TV show Secret Millionaire. And thank you so much, James, for joining me for Interview Connections TV.
Pleasure.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun talking, learning more about podcasts. And
razzing me that I don't do enough podcasting. I don't even know what a podcast is.
But he knows what a teleseminar is, and he's.
I did hear of the internet once.
Yes, so we've been talking. We're talking over lunch about how important it is to deliver great content and using interviews for positioning. So James, talk a little bit about how you help your coaching clients with interviews and content, and just how to build their business with interviews and content.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The whole key to growing any business, to getting more publicity, more exposure, is value. The more value you create, the more content you create through that value that you offer folks, the more business is going to attract you like a magnet. The more referrals you'll get, the more opportunities you will get, the more TV, radio, more podcast interviews. See, I know the word.
Yes.
The more teleseminars, the more speaking opportunities, the more people who will walk into your brick and mortar business. So it all comes back to, if you think about, you could build a house on a solid foundation or on shifting sand. And the foundation of your success in business is content being driven by great value.
That was just such a great answer. A question that I'm asking all of my guests that I'm interviewing here is, you've been interviewed so many times on podcasts, even if you don't realize it. You've been interviewed on tons of podcasts.
She's even taking shots at me on the video.
So you've been interviewed so many times, obviously on TV and on podcasts. What advice do you have? We've got a lot of people watching that are starting a podcast, that are interviewing people for the first time. From your perspective as a guest expert, what advice do you have for them on how to be a great host?
Oh, that's a great question. Something that I like to do, if I can, is I like to provide as a guest. So as a host, take this and ask your guests of this. I like to actually provide the questions that the host will ask me. If you think about it, you probably don't know as a host a lot about each of the individual. If you're doing one a week, you're doing over 50-some interviews, right? That's a lot of time to research, a lot of time to plan, a lot of time to create, different questions. So why not ask the person you're interviewing which questions would best help them get the value out to your viewers or to your listeners. So I would suggest as a host that you ask, like when I'm on, whether it's television or a podcast or a radio, one of the things I love is when the host, which happens very few times, the host asks me if I could give him or her some questions. I actually have to entice them, hey, why don't we follow my questions?
Yes.
Because, and I always say as a person being interviewed, my job is to add value to your watchers or your listeners and to make you look good. So let me give you my questions. So if you turn that around as a host and you say, hey, I'd like to make you look really great, Jessica, so why don't you give me 3, 4, 5 questions to ask, so that when I ask them to, you're not surprised, and you'll give great answers and great content for my followers.
I love it. I am so glad that you gave that answer, because that's something that
that's because you told me to say all that. Jessica, as a host, she gives me the answer. I'm reading right now off of a
Well, that's actually...
I'm kidding.
Well, I do that with Interview Connections. We always, prepare the questions ahead of time. We ask the guest what questions they want us to ask, and if they don't have questions, we'll prepare and just make sure that they see them. So I didn't even tell you to say that, and it was perfect.
That's not what the $500 was for? You said if I give you $500, would you say that? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
James,
joking.
thank you so much for being my guest. You gave such great content, such great value. I'm sure that everyone really learned a lot. How can people learn more about you?
Oh, cool. Just go to www.bigmoneyspeaker.com. That's bigmoneyspeaker.com.
And James has an event coming up in May, this Big Money Speaker Boot Camp. I know that a lot of our podcasters and guest experts also want to be speakers. So go to James' event. You'll learn so much about how to be a speaker. So where can they learn more about your event?
Oh, that's great. It's very simple. Big Money Speaker Boot Camp. podcastingcoach.com. See, I don't know much about podcasting, so when it comes to my websites, I got to keep it real simple. And we do them every May and every December.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, please share it. Please share it on Facebook and Twitter so we can help get more people this information. And until next time, have a great productive week and go have some great interviews.